How old am I? What's my job? Husband? Teenage bride? The list goes on. Hi guys, welcome back. So today's video is my very first question and answer. I know this is long overdue and it's about time I share more about myself with you. For those of you that don't know me, hello, I am Mel. And yes, I've been on YouTube over 3.5 years now, and this is my first question and answer. And for those that do follow me, you would know that on my Instagram, I ask both on a post and on stories for you to ask me any question you want. And boy, did you guys definitely ask me questions. I think all in all, I got asked over 300 questions. And, it is going to be a long video, just putting it out there now. Long video, but chit-chatty video, a very honest, a very raw video. I didn't want to really prepare any of the answers, but I did have to take a look at this clip. I did have to, and Miss S and our son was helping me sort of cut them all out and put them on a board to put them into categories because I just didn't even know how I was going to organize them. So you guys asked me questions from work to money to YouTube to family to, of course, luxury, lots of bag questions. So I'm gonna foresee I'm probably gonna have to split this video into two because I don't know if you guys want to sit here for 3 hours and listen to me chat. But I'm going to get through your most asked questions. I am going to be telling you and answering all your questions, literally spilling the tea. So right now, pause the video, grab your favorite snack, grab a drink. I have got tea here, as you can see, in this gorgeous teacup, which I will talk about. I'm going to take a sip now, which is nice and warm. So seriously, pause the video, grab a drink. You're going to want a drink, and let's get right into it. Okay, we're going to get right into my most asked question. What do you do? What's your job? What do you do for a living? Is YouTube your full-time job? To answer that, I have actually answered this before in my earlier videos, but for those of you that don't know, I still consider myself, I know I am not a fashion buyer now, but for over 10 years, I did fashion buying product development. So what that means was that I was buying products for department stores. I've worked in wholesale and product development, which meant that whatever you see in the shelves, I was the one responsible for selecting the product or sort of like not making the products, but altering the product. So I did that, as I said, for department stores, for bags, shoes, accessories. And I did that for over 10 years. I loved it. And then, which I'll go into a little bit, I stopped that job. It did involve a lot of travel, which was very, very difficult on family. And then I moved into real estate. And the past few years, especially the first couple of years on YouTube, I did that a lot more than YouTube because YouTube was just a hobby at the start. It was just for a bit of fun. But now, absolutely, YouTube is a source of income. Actually, it definitely is a part-time job. And the real estate part is sort of like diminishing. In terms of real estate, I started off more in real estate, sort of more property management, also investment. But yeah, in terms of a broad thing, it's real estate. I don't want to go straight into exactly what I do for privacy reasons, and I still continue to do that. It's less now, but on a part-time basis, and YouTube is becoming more and more sort of my job. And other than that, I am a mum. So I've also chosen not to take on another part-time job because I love being able to pick my daughter up from school and to, bring her to after school activities. So that was like your number one question. I think like 50 plus of you asked that question. So yes, I hope that answers it. Now, if you see me looking down at my computer, it's only because I've summarized it. I haven't actually prepared any of the answers, but I needed to categorize it because there was such a plethora of questions and I just needed to have some sort of like it categorized in my mind. So let's keep on the topic of work and one of your questions, a few of you asked this, was what was your dream job and your career aspirations? And honestly, when I was younger, very, very young, I wanted to be a doctor. And I even did my work experience in high school, in the hospital. I just so wanted to be a doctor. And obviously that didn't come into fruition. And I just knew that I liked business. So I wasn't sure what I really wanted to do. And in answering that, I studied business. I have a Bachelor of Business, majoring in marketing, and I went to Monash University here in Melbourne. So I didn't exactly have a career goal, but I started doing marketing, a bit of credit marketing, which I hated. And then with buying, I kind of fell into it. I started way down the bottom as a buyer's assistant and then just worked my way up from buyer's assistant, assistant buyer, then buyer, senior buyer, brand manager, and so forth. So then another question that a couple of you asked me is tell me a little bit more about your fashion buying. So I loved fashion buying, and a lot of people, and I think a lot of like girls think, oh my gosh, I want to be a buyer. It's so cool. You get to sit in runways and just like see all the models walk down. That is not the reality, okay? If anything, I was in the factories in China. We didn't want to go to the toilet because the toilet was not pleasant. And we would be working in the China factories. And some of those conditions, I can tell you, were not great. But those conditions improved because, as Australian companies required China to meet sort of regulations like not work their workers 7 days a week, for example. Anyway, so I was in the factories a lot. And the difference, I guess, between a buyer and a product developer is a department buyer would go, they would select the range from their already created range and put it in stores. I did that in addition to creating a product. So I actually went around the world, very fortunately, and we would buy different samples because, the Asian market is different from the Australian market. The US, Europe, everyone has different buying behaviors. So we would, for example, go to Europe, we might buy a bag from one of the boutiques and think, okay, how would Australians like this? And then reinterpret it. Go to the factories, choose the samples. I might want to change the handle on this. I want to make the shoe height shorter, so forth. That's the product development side. So I have to say I love the product development side to it because that enabled more creativity. So for those of you that are interested in fashion or product development, that is what I did. And I didn't specifically need a fashion and buying course. I did a general marketing course, but nowadays I'm not sure what is required. But let me tell you, if you want to earn a lot of money, buying and retail is generally not the career path to do that, to be completely honest, because it is a lot of work, it is a lot of travel, you have to be passionate about it. I'm not saying it doesn't earn a decent amount, but it took me a while before I earned six figures in fashion buying. Okay, next question to answer really quickly. Have you ever been pressured to take a career you didn't want? And by the way, guys, I'm sorry that I'm not, repeating everyone's name who asked the questions. I appreciate each and every one of you that ask questions, but I also know that I want to get through this video as quick as possible, but be informative as possible. So please excuse me for that. But thank you so much for everyone that asked questions and gave me such positive, feedback and just your beautiful comments as well. So going back to this question was, have you ever been pressured to take a career you didn't want? And also, are you planning on quitting your job? Yes, in terms of planning to take a career I didn't want, I could definitely pursue real estate much more. In fact, they wanted me to take on a much more senior role and I could have easily run that company. But real estate is not something I'm passionate about. Absolutely passionate about diversifying my income streams. But as a job full-time, 40 hours a week, real estate, not my cup of tea. So do I plan on quitting that? No, I always would like to have that a bit on the sideline because that still interests me, but I do really enjoy YouTube. So I'm seeing where YouTube takes me. Right now, as I told you, YouTube is definitely a part-time job for me. Whether it's full-time, I don't know. I feel like sometimes it's full-time hours, but it's definitely, an income stream for me. Moving on to work in terms of YouTube, a lot of you asked me, how I got started on YouTube. I got started on YouTube because so many of my friends said, Mel, your background is bags, your background is shoes, you know so much about it, you already have designer bags and shoes. I watch all these people on YouTube, you should do your own kind of channel. My husband encouraged me, and honestly, and I think a lot of YouTubers would say this, you just started off just like, look, I'm just going to do a video more for friends and family and see how I go. And that's exactly how it started off. I started making one video and then it became two, and then so forth, so forth. And quite a few of you, much to my surprise, also asked, are you going to do a meet and greet in Melbourne? Will you guys want me to do a meet and greet? Please comment below if you want me to do one. I've been thinking about it, but I'm not sure if you guys would even want me to do one. So yeah, comment below and let me know. If so, maybe we should, organize a bit of a meetup, because all us Lux lovers, I'm sure we will be talking and chatting for ages about everything Lux. So yes, definitely open to that. Who edits my videos? Me, and I just use iMovie. Very basic, but it works for me. And then a couple of you also asked tips for starting a successful YouTube career. I don't know if mine is a career, but my number one tip is definitely consistency for YouTube. It is getting harder and harder. You have to put out consistent videos. I would say minimum once a week, and quality as well. So try and make your videos as professional as possible. You don't need like the best setup, but if you go back to my very first video, you can see I was very nervous, but definitely consistency is key. And then it says, do you earn a lot from YouTube? YouTube is definitely, as I've mentioned before, a source of income for me, but I'm going to go into that when I talk about money a little bit more. Okay, guys, take a drink, take a sip. I'm having more of my tea. We got a lot more to go. So I hope you're enjoying it. By the way, guys, I hope that you guys are staying safe and healthy. You're in my thoughts and I'm wishing you all well. And I think this is the perfect time for you to watch a really long video and just get to know a bit more about me. So that leads me to personal questions, and you guys asked me a lot of personal questions. Okay, first off was a lot about my ethnicity and am I Chinese? So yes, I am Chinese. My great I don't even know how many generations back, grandparents came from China, but they migrated to Malaysia. So I was born in Malaysia in Sarawak. So not West Malaysia, everybody knows KL, Kuala Lumpur, but I was born in the east, which a lot of people refer to as the jungle side. So I was born in Kuching, but my parents grew up in Cebu. So a big shout out to all you guys from Cebu and Kuching. Even though I was born in Kuching, I love Malaysian food. But I have lived in Australia since I was 4 years old. I migrated here when I was 4. I've started kindy here. That's why I think I sound pretty Aussie. I don't have a Malaysian accent, though I am told when I speak to my mum, my Malaysian comes out, which is probably true. The next question was, what was your family life growing up? Did you grow up with luxury? That's a very good question. So I absolutely did not grow up with luxury. As a lot of you know, I am the oldest of 7. I came from a very middle class. I don't even like to call it class. It wasn't even middle class, very average sort of, working class family where my dad worked. My mom was a stay-at-home mom because there were 7 of us kids. And yeah, we had a mortgage, we had debt, it was hard, we never went out to eat. I don't remember going out to movies, and it was really tough. I think my dad may have earned a decent salary, but when you've got 7 mouths to feed, it was really, really hard. So growing up was kind of really tough for me, to be honest, because a lot of was expected of me. So even when I was like in, grade 6, I was making lunches for my sister and I was vacuuming the whole house. I knew how to cook eggs. I knew how to put my younger brothers and sisters to sleep. I knew how to change nappies, poo nappies when I was like 11 or 12, so it was hard. So I think in high school I did start getting pocket money, but we're talking about like $40 a month. So every time I would save that up and I could get steamed dim sims. I know it sounds silly, but steamed dim sims, it's such a memory to me. Isn't it funny that taste and smell evoke so much memory? So even when I eat steamed dim sims now, it's like a little treat for me. I don't know. So the minute I could work, which back then the earliest you could work was 14 years, 9 months, I worked. I got a job because I wanted to be able to afford things. I felt like it's not like my parents didn't provide for me. They did the best they can. But when you got 7 mouths to feed, it is hard. I have so much respect for my parents. So growing up was just very noisy, always babies around, which was really tough for me in terms of my studies and just growing up with such a big household. Okay, now a lot of you asked this question too, and I'm going to be completely honest with this. You guys asked, which is a very good question too. How do you manage YouTube family, work, leisure time, and yourself? And how do you just juggle life in general? Honestly, guys, I struggle. I honestly struggle with it. And it's hard to find that balance. It's hard to make sure you have enough time for the kids, enough time for your husband, enough time for yourself. But one thing my husband and I are very, we've talked about this and it's very important is what makes us better, wives and husbands is, he has times he goes out with the boys. I have times I go out with the girls. I've got alone time. He's got alone time. I have, dates with my kids every, 2 weeks. My son and I will go out and eat or walk, and my daughter and I will have like go to the bookstore, we'll do something that she likes. We have to make time. And sometimes I absolutely suck at it. And my daughter's like, Mummy, put down your phone because, you're on your phone on Instagram a lot. So there are some days I go, okay, I'm dealing with it. Okay. And there's other days, guys, I really honestly suck at it. So I know it seems on Instagram like sometimes I have it all together, but it is this fine balancing act. One little tip that I do is when you're out with your friends, just turn your phone over. Don't look at your phone or put your phone in your bag and just focus on the person and talk to them. You don't get time to chat to a girlfriend or whoever you're meeting up with for a couple of hours. Give them your full attention. Certain times of the night, I just turn my phone over and I just like, I'm not looking at my phone. And that to me, guys, is really hard to do because I think all of us are kind of a bit addicted to our phones. The first thing we wake up, we look at our phone. The last thing we do at night is we look at our phone. So I'm struggling with that, and I have to be so intentional. It's just intentionality. So yeah, it's a balancing act that I am just continuing trying to improve. Okay, next question is again, a lot of you asked this. What is your fashion inspo? What inspires you? If I'm talking about icons, definitely Audrey Hepburn, Grace Kelly. To me, they're the epitome of elegance and class. Not necessarily what they wear, but they're just so elegant. And in terms of my style, I'm quite feminine as well. So I just love that their style is so classic. But for me, I don't have like a modern day sort of fashion muse or icon I follow. I love, as you know, mixing designer, vintage, and high street brands. So I don't really care too much about trends. Yes, I like looking at them. Yes, sometimes I, pick up a trend just for a bit of fun to try it out. But I would say generally, I just stick to what I love and what suits my body and what makes me feel confident in. And you know what? One thing I love to do is I love to people watch. So sometimes when I'm having a coffee, I just love to see different people's styles because I think fashion is a way you can express yourself. So I find it fascinating what people wear, and I just love looking at what people wear in general. So the next few questions are going to be more rapid fire questions. I'm going to answer them very briefly because only a few of you asked these, but nevertheless, I still wanted to address them. And it says, do you cook? Fave thing to cook? Yes, I do cook, but I have to admit I don't love cooking. Luckily, hubby likes cooking. I actually prefer baking. If I do cook, my fave thing to cook is the things that my mum taught me, so more traditional Chinese things. And hobbies, interests besides collecting bags. I also love collecting handmade dolls. I love the handmade community. And another reason why I'm drinking tea from this teacup is because I also collect vintage teacups. Another thing that I used to do a lot more, which I'm going to do this year more, is I love going to, thrift shops and scouring all those teacups and collecting them. So I have quite a big teacup collection. I don't know how much they're exactly worth, but I just collect them, more for their aesthetics, I would say. And another hobby eating. I like trying all different places to eat, if that's a hobby. Fave color, I've mentioned this before, is sky blue. Zodiac sign, I am a Virgo. Birthday date, September 21st. Age. Okay. Now, I think I have mentioned this. I don't know if I have said it before, but I am born in 1980. I remember in my Gucci giveaway, I actually mentioned this. So 1980. So yes, I am going to be 40 this year. I'm not quite there, a few more months to go, but this year is 40 and they say 40 is the new 30. So I will be turning 40 in a few months' time. Fave book, I really recommend the Five Love Languages. That really helps If you're in a relationship, I think it just helps understand each other better. That's by Gary Chapman. And I also love The Purpose Driven Life, which I read years ago, and even every so often I still read, which is by Rick Warren. Introvert or extrovert? I would say earlier on I was an extrovert, but now I'm becoming more of an introvert. I actually love staying at home, but I still love my good sort of girly session. Pets, we did have a dog. He was a Westie. He was so cute. His name was Uki, but unfortunately he passed away a few years ago. So no, currently we don't have a pet. Fave food, generally probably fried chicken. It's really bad. Or chips. But at the moment, I'm just loving all things Korean. Next up, do you like living in Australia? Is it the ideal place to live? Yes, for me, I'm biased. I've lived here since I was 4. I've started, kindergarten here. I love Melbourne. I think Melbourne is one of the reasons why it's voted most livable city, a few years in a row, number 1 or number 2. So Melbourne, yes, Melbourne girl, love Melbourne. Okay, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years' time? What are my future goals? Hopefully, I actually still see myself on YouTube to some capacity. I would like to still keep doing this. I love doing it. I love talking to you guys. And I feel like this is a community. And whenever it's a community and you feel like belong, I don't know, that makes me happy. I also still want to continue, my real estate and also diversify my portfolio. So that's sort of where I see myself in 5, 10 years' time. Okay, now let's move on to some of the questions that might require a little bit more than one sentence. What makes you happiest moment? Okay, so obviously besides the obvious, getting married, having my children, it's the little things. It's seeing them laugh. It's having a really good meal. Like I get so happy when I eat like a really good steak. Like I don't know about you, but when you have a really good meal, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was such a good meal. That was so satisfying. Next up is what am I most grateful for? I am most grateful for my family, the support of my family, especially my husband, the close relationship I share with my children. And in terms of religion, I am a Christian, so I'm so grateful for my relationship with God. Next up is my biggest insecurity in terms of my body. Hands down, my tummy. Oh my goodness, if I've got stretch marks from one end, like if you go from your hip to the side, my whole stomach is stretch mark. When I had my son, it's like someone drew a purple texture, no joke, purple texture, purple texture, purple texture through my whole stomach, and it's faded to silver, but that's my biggest insecurity in terms of my body. Tummy. What's your cleaning schedule for your closet? Do you have a cleaner? Yes, we have a cleaner. It is the best investment ever. She comes once a week and she does all the sort of major, bathroom, oven kind of jobs. But everyone that has a cleaner, I don't know if you guys do, but it just frees up so much time for the family. But even if you have a cleaner, you still every day have to clean. You still have to do the dishes. You still have to fold the laundry and everything like that. But yes, I do have a cleaner. In terms of my closet, I just dust as need be. I don't get a lot of dust in my closet. You guys know, if you haven't seen my closet tour, that I display all my bags because I like to visually see everything. So I just dust it down about once a week. So it's not that high maintenance actually. And then the final question in this, which quite a few of you asked, how did you become successful? I think that's quite a hard question to answer because it depends on how you define success. Is success to you making heaps and heaps of money? Is success to you being happy? Is success to you achieving, a goal that you set out to do? So for me, I feel like I'm still on that journey, like there's still parts of my personality, parts of my life that I want to improve on. But, financial wise, there's always room to improve. On my own personal traits, there's always room to improve. So I guess it's hard to say, how did you become so successful? Maybe I don't see myself as that successful. One bad trait that I do have about myself, it's very hard for me to accept compliments. It's very hard for me to acknowledge, you know, my husband always says you need to enjoy the joy in the journey. I don't enjoy the journey. I'm always so end results focused. Like, what's the end result? I need to enjoy the journey. And so for me, I know I might seem to be so successful to you guys. I can just seem to buy bags and everything. So yes, I have achieved in that sense from when I was little, from a very average kind of family, I don't need to like think and save for years and years for a bag, for example. We do always still talk about our purchases and plan it out, but in that sense, if you want to deem success that way, yes, I guess so. But in a personal sense, so much I need to learn and grow from. And that's why I am such a big believer, and I'm not ashamed to admit this to you guys, that I'm a big believer in counseling, in talking to people, because prevention is always better than cure. So why do you have to wait, for example, if you're in a relationship, when your relationship's in shambles before you talk to someone? I am like completely putting my hand up and telling you guys, me and my husband have been to counseling sessions before it's gotten that bad. Have we gotten at that stage is that bad before? Yes, I'm going to talk about husband later. Gosh, you guys are asked a lot about husband. But even when we're not that bad, sometimes we just need another person's perspective, or even with the kids when they're dealing with something, I'm a big advocate of talking to someone because they're trained to talk to you and they give you a different perspective. So but one thing I do need to say, and I have to be intentional with myself about this, is that since I have started YouTube with all its downsides, which there are downsides as well. Of course, you get negative comments and all that. But I am really proud of the relationship I share with my children. That is the reason why I've also not decided to pursue another career, even though I've got time and YouTube is not exactly full time, though it's almost full time. I choose to want to be at home too. And sometimes your presence, even being there for the kids just knowing that you're there, mummy's at home, or mummy can pick me up from school, or, my son knowing he can talk to me about some of the more adult issues he's going through. That to me is success. That, my children share such a close bond. That to me is successful. And I'm definitely, got so much to learn as a parent, but that honestly brings me so much joy. How are you guys going? Did I or did I not warn you that this was going to be a long video? That's why I said I don't know if I'm going to get through all these questions. But the next topic I have here, and as I said, I'm looking down at my MacBook because I tried to write all the questions down, and the biggest question in terms of family was how I met hubby, and there was like 12 of you that asked that. So this is my story. So hubby and I met when we were in high school. We all met during a movie. All of us met in Chadstone actually, and we were watching Don Juan DeMarco. That's his name, Johnny Depp. And yeah, so it was a group of us. There was 3 guys, 3 girls, and that was our first meeting. So we have a mutual friend. That was our very first meeting. I think it was back when I was in year 8, I think, and he was in year 9. Anyway, nothing kind of happened. We were just friends. I went to a public school, he went to a private school, but it was sort of like close-ish to each other. And we would see each other from time to time over the couple of years. But anyway, just friends. Anyway, at his year 12 formal, his friend asked me to go with him, and we were just all friends. And so his friend asked me, can you find someone for my husband? And I said, yeah, I'll get one of my friends to come. So we're all just going as friends. So at the formal, nothing, we didn't really notice each other. And then it was the after party. And the after party, we were at karaoke. So seriously, guys, I was just like sitting down, and my husband was singing. And I don't know why I noticed him, but he was like singing, and then I looked at him, and then he looked at me, and then it was just like these, I know it sounds so cliche, but it was like these sparks. And then when we talk about it now, like he just jokes to the kids, oh, your mummy wanted me so bad, all this kind of stuff. But but it was just these sparks. And then after that, we talked like, back in the day when you didn't, I had one of those phones where it was like one of those cord phones. Who remembers this? Then your age. And I had to like go around the corner and then close the sliding door just to get some privacy. So I remember talking for hours and hours and hours with him. And then a couple of weeks later, we started becoming boyfriend and girlfriend, and that was back in 1997. And funnily enough, we didn't actually see each other much because he was going through his final year exams, and he's very studious, very, very intelligent, very smart, very hardworking. And so the next time I sort of saw him was after his exams, and so we hadn't seen each other for a while. But anyway, that is the story of how we met. And the second most asked question, you guys are obviously very interested in hubby, is what hubby does for a living. And for privacy reasons, I can't reveal his exact occupation, but I can tell you he owns his own sort of like healthcare business. So, and he loves it. He absolutely loves it. And that brings me so much happiness because he loves going to work every day. Next up is a few sort of short answer questions I'll get through. This is under the family theme. Is a few of you asked, what do you and your family do in your free time? I'm also sort of summarizing this because a lot of you asked this, but in different sort of variations. But we love to eat as a family. We love trying different restaurants. We also love going to the movies as a family. You might have seen from my stories that sometimes we like to hang out at Time Zone and just play some games. And also we like to go bowling as a family as well. And then a couple of you also asked, would you ever do a full video with Miss S children on social media? I've actually done a few videos with my children. Miss S has been in a couple of my videos. I will link them down below. My son's only been in one, which was only a few videos ago. He was super shy. I think he did pretty well. Let me know if you would like to see more of them. But I have been including them in a few of my family vlogs because, as I said, in terms of content, I'm absolutely still going to keep up the shopping vlogs or the luxury, but there's going to be a little bit more family content and the kids are going to make an appearance a little bit more. So talking more about the kids, I had a few questions on Miss S. Do you let Miss S wear designer clothes? Does she have any designer items? At what age? Can she borrow your bags? Okay, so Miss S does not own any designer bags. Her aunties and my friends have kindly given her like little dupes because you know how everything we have, they have like a mini version of. So sometimes like Bardo Kids, sometimes Amaya, they've got mini versions of some of the most popular bags. But no, she doesn't own a designer bag. I want to wait till she's older. No judgment at all against parents who buy their children designer items, but I just want to wait until she's a bit older before, you know, she gets a designer bag. However, in saying that, I have a few items that I've bought from the children's category in size 12 or 14. So those items we do share, and she does own a couple of those items. So I think, I'm not sure what age yet, but maybe probably 16 maybe. Like I do have a bag that I've already kind of pre-bought for her, which I want to give to her. And then it says, is Miss S interested in fashion? Right at the moment, she kind of loves dancing. I got asked, what's her dream job? And she just loves helping people. She's got a very, she's very empathetic. She's got a very, very kind heart. So I think like right now, I would say dancer because she just likes all, you know, dancing with her friends. But later on, I'm not too sure. But fashion, I would say yes and no. She likes picking her own clothes, but at the moment, her style is a little bit more casual. Now let's move on to more husband questions because as I said, husband was a very popular topic. And just to quickly summarize this in a few questions, you know, does your husband complain about your spending? Do you have to ask him for permission? What are your husband's thoughts on your luxury collection? Okay, that's first. Okay, so does my husband complain about my spending sometimes? Yes, sometimes. I don't have to ask him for permission. It's more of a respect thing. I just like to say, look, this is a bag or these are a pair of shoes that, you know, I'm thinking of getting. And I don't have to run past him saying, oh, am I allowed to buy this? No, it's just like, I'm just letting you know, I'm probably maybe getting this in a couple of weeks. I want to save up. What do you think of it? I value his opinion. Likewise, when he's making any sort of purchases or bigger purchases, he will tell me to. Obviously, if it's a, you know, little purchase here and there, no, we just go ahead and spend it. But I think just out of respect, we do consult each other. And what are my husband's thoughts on luxury? My husband's known that I've loved luxury from the very, very beginning. I will answer this more in depth in my luxury and my bag questions because a lot of you asked me. But since we've been together for, you know, this year is like the 23rd year we've been together, this and 21 years of marriage, you know, at the end of this year. The first bag that I bought, you know, I was 18 years old. So he's known that I've loved luxury. Obviously, my collection is not what it is now, but he's okay with it because he knows that, you know, I've always loved it. And he knows that I actually just love buying things, not just for myself, but for other people. Like that is, yeah, that is one of my love language. So I like to buy people things, my family, people that I love. Okay, so the next few questions are getting a lot more personal. And I have to say, guys, this is more difficult for me to share, but I told you that this would be very honest and raw. And so I did expect these questions. And so a lot of you asked the age of my children. A lot of you asked the age in which I got married. Obviously, I've told you what my age is now. And a lot of you asked me what was my most difficult moments in life or life, and, just how was it being a mum, parenting tips. Okay, so first off, age of my children. My son is 19 years old and Miss S is 10 years old. So there is a 9 year gap. It's a very big gap. And our son was an unexpected surprise. So that leads me to, I guess, the most difficult moment, because my husband and I had been going out for a couple of years, and I've always known I've wanted to be a young mom, and we've always known from when we met, even 2 years, we were already discussing marriage. Like after university, we knew that we wanted to get married young, have a family young, but obviously not that young. So, in answering the age I got married, a lot of you people ask me, "Oh my gosh, Mel, you're so young, but you've got your son is so old." That's because I am sort of young-ish, but not old. And I think a lot of people think I am older than I am. Hopefully, I don't look that old. But anyway, that's another thing, is because I'm not joking when I said that I got married young and I had our son young. So yes, the age I got married was 19. I was in my end of the first year of university. So, my son's the same age now, and it's we're very, very honest with him. We don't ever forbid him to not have a girlfriend or anything like that, but we're like saying, if mummy and daddy could do it differently, we would not have got married so young. Not saying that you were ever a mistake, because you're not. You're the best surprise that has ever happened to us. But yes, it did speed the whole thing up. Not that our parents ever said we had to get married, but both my husband and I wanted to get married. And I guess that led to the whole, one question was about the proposal. When I did find out I was pregnant, he proposed, and I'm like, "Oh no, you're just saying that because, I'm pregnant." And, guys, life isn't always as you plan it. Life is unexpected, but to this day, it is it's the best thing that has ever happened to us. And, sorry, I'm getting emotional. When my son was old enough for me to talk about this, I told him the whole story, and I said, "You were meant to be here." How we even arranged our wedding, let me put some of our wedding pictures. So yeah, as you can see from the wedding photos, you can't tell it all because I was just like so early on in the pregnancy, but it was the best day of our lives. I was so proud as a 19-year-old to organize the wedding we had. It was a beautiful wedding of family and friends. It was very classic. It was my style. Everything to me, and I can only say to you my story because this is what I believe. I'm not trying to sound religious or anything, but I really feel God was part of everything, because you guys know, if you're planning a wedding, you need, minimum 6 months or a year and a half planning. But the church, got cancelled, and so we could book the church venue, the venue for the reception, the one that we loved, our first choice. That on that day, the same day, it got cancelled, so we could book it at a discounted rate. Just like all these things fell into place, and we were so scared, and that was that question. That was the most difficult time in my life, because I don't know about you, but Asian, I mean, not just Asian parents, but typical Asian, my age parents, sometimes even Europeans, like you think, "Oh my gosh, they're going to disown you. They're going to," but surprisingly, my parents were like pretty supportive, and they're like, "You know what? If you guys just want to get married, do it properly." And I was really grateful for their support. And likewise with my husband's side of the family, they were very supportive too. Maybe not initially as much so, but we all came together, and I planned the wedding in less than a month, and I still managed to get a distinction average in university. So despite planning my wedding and everything. So yes, I was a really young bride. Like, who gets married at 19 now? Like, I think no one. Like, if I think about our son, he would be like, he jokes to me. He's like, I'm not gonna be as dumb as you guys to get married at 19. You know, I mean, my husband's older, but still, we joke about it. And I'm like, you know what? Enjoy your time with your friends. Just, you got plenty of time. Having him at this age, he is such a help. He is, I love him. That's why I call him my son, literally my sunshine. He is my sunshine. And so that was such a difficult moment in our lives because a lot of people judged us, a lot of those aunties and uncles or some church people definitely judged us, but the people that mattered, you really found out who your true friends were. And it was really difficult because people in uni, you know, I was still, I put my degree on hold for a little bit, but I went to summer school, I caught up, I graduated at the same time as all my friends because I basically went to uni, came back, studied my ass off, and finished my degree and still looked after a baby. But I couldn't go out. I had to give up all that. I was looking after, you know, a baby, a toddler at that age while everyone is out having fun. So that was really, really difficult. But that's why the friends that I have now are the friends from high school that are 25 years and stuff, because those are the girls that have stuck by me. So, whew, that was a big thing. So now you guys know all about that. But I just want to encourage you guys for all of you that are young that are watching, don't ever think you're too young to be able to do anything you set your mind to. Everyone was like, they're going to break up, they're going to divorce. And I'm not saying it's been easy at all. Like, we have been through so much. Like, what marriage isn't, you know, marriage is not a bed of roses. It goes ups and downs. It's a roller coaster, but it's been the best roller coaster of my life. And we're still here celebrating 21 years of marriage this year, and we are so proud of that. But for us, that foundation has been a foundation of God. I have to say that. So that is, I guess that is my family life. And I guess the best parenting advice I can give, and this is something my husband heard on a podcast by you know, a speaker called Andrew Stanley. He goes, you know, whenever we make decisions about our family, we always think, you know, well, the kids want to come home when they're older, because let's face it, our kids are going to grow up, they're not going to need us, you know. It's hard to let go, guys. It's hard to let go. My son is growing up, you know, he's probably going to get a girlfriend soon. It's hard to let go. But I want him when we're older that he just wants to come home. And I just hope that the decisions my husband and I makes our children want to come home when they're older. And we can only, you know, do what we can now as imperfect people, as imperfect parents, to be the best versions of ourselves we can be, and to, you know, be the best parents we can be to our children while setting, you know, boundaries. And I guess the last sort of question I have on here, which a few of you asked, was how do I maintain a healthy relationship, or what's some healthy relationship advice? I'm guessing that's husband or children. I've kind of mentioned this, like I have dates with my son and my daughter, and likewise my husband has dates, like, you know, daddy-daughter dates and daddy-son dates. And I guess the best advice is never stop dating your spouse. Like I said, even after this, even though I'm all dressed up, we're going to still have a home date. Even if you're in quarantine, or, you know, you can still have a date. You can still have a date together and, you know, walk to the park together. Just don't ever stop dating your spouse. I guess that's, in a nutshell, what I think. Okay, guys, how are we traveling? I'm going to have my tea. I think I'm looking at the camera thing and we're way past like 45 minutes. So I think I'm going to briefly just talk about money, and then I'm going to group all luxury and handbag questions, because boy, did I get a variety of handbag and luxury questions, and that will be in part two. That kind of makes sense for it to go together. And, you know, I had a few health and beauty, but I think this video has probably gone long enough, and I hope this hasn't been boring for you guys. And I hope I've answered all your questions. Let me take a sip of my tea, which is probably cold now, but that's okay. I'm the type of person, weird fact, I don't mind drinking hot or cold coffee or tea. But anyway, money. Alrighty, money, quickly. How do you afford so many luxury items? How do you save for money and bags? How do you save for that one designer bag? As I said to you, growing up was really, really, really hard. For my first luxury bag, I had to literally save months and months and months. And all through my 20s, even though I see a lot of these, you know, 20-year-old, and I'm so happy for them, by the way. Whenever I see luxury YouTubers unboxing, I'm thrilled for them and so happy for them. But during my 20s, I wouldn't say a lot, maybe like 10 to 12 designer bags, but more along the lines of like LV, Gucci, a couple of vintage Chanels. It wasn't really until after my 30s that my collection expanded to what it is today. So how do I afford so many luxury items? As I touched on before, we have different income streams. So my husband has a job, I have a job, passive income. He gets passive income, obviously, as I said, because he owns his own business. I get passive income. Passive income comes from rental. As I said, property is very important to me. We have passive income in terms of shares, passive income in terms of art, and also even as YouTuber, as all of you guys know, there is some passive income that comes from, affiliate links. And also YouTube does pay, some money, but also you also get some YouTube money from collaborations. So if you count them all up, there's sort of like 8 income streams. So all of that makes up our income. So before we buy anything, we make sure that we have enough money first. Actually, one of the mistakes that we made was that, it was so easy back in the day to get credit cards, to get 2,000, and they'll be like, oh, do you want to increase it to 5, then to 10, to 20? And then finally, my husband and I said, no, we don't want credit cards. So we only have one credit card, which is really just used for overseas because it avoids all the currency conversion, but we only have a debit card. So whatever is in the debit card is money we have. So if I want to buy the bag, it comes out. It's literally like handing cash over. When people say, save money, literally hand cash over. So we just have a debit card, and that has really helped. But yeah, we still always talk about things. I still have rules that I put into place before I want to buy something. I think about it. Of course, there are impromptu purchases. I've totally admitted to you that sometimes I'm just like, yeah, I kind of want it. I kind of buy it. And we are luckily in the position where I can do that at times. But for the most part, we always discuss it. And I always like to think about my purchases before just going straight in and buying the bag or shoe or designer item. So one thing that has really helped us and learn from my mistakes is many years ago we started doing a budget, and it depends how detailed you want your budget to be. But if you do a budget, we can definitely see in all the categories what we're spending too much money on, what we can cut back on, and so that will help you save for the bag or whatever you're saving for. For example, we don't tend to spend a lot, on entertainment, whereas then some people might go out for, dinners a lot or drinks a lot and stuff like that. So all that, if you save up, you can easily buy, a Louis Vuitton SLG or a Chanel small leather good, SLG small leather good, or, a Louis Vuitton bag. All of it adds up. Eating lunch out. I know these are all just like very basic things, but we don't buy lunch out. We make lunch, we make extra for leftovers, and there's some ways to be frugal that way. So if you really wanted enough, you can save up for it, but you do need to cut back on some things that are, maybe it's just not eating out 5 times a week. Maybe it's just eating out once a week, and it all adds up. So the next question a lot of you ask is advice for, new graduates who are just starting to build their wealth, advice for working their way up. Honestly, for myself, and I can only talk about my experience, is diversifying and trying and find a passive income stream. When we bought our first house, it was before we were 30. I understand now it is getting harder and harder, but it might even be, consulting a financial consultant, and you might want to start a small share portfolio. But it's more than just think about more than just your 9 to 5 job. Yes, that's going to get you your income, but what is a side business that you can sustainably do? Don't just sort of do it for the money because you're going to lose your steam. Then you're going to be like, I hate it, I don't want to do it. But just diversifying. So at the start, it was more like shares for us, or getting a house and getting income from rental and things like that. So it's just start thinking that sort of ways, just different avenues. And for us, now our stream might be 8 or 9 different streams, but we only started off with 1 or 2. In fact, when we got married, we used all the money, or our red packet money, and we bought shares with that, more the safer blue chip shares. And we started off like that. So that's my best advice for you new graduates, or those of you starting to invest your money. And I'm going to end up on this final question because I think this video might be an hour long, but it sums up all these questions. But I kind of touched on this, but a lot of you kind of asked, how much do you set aside? How do you save money on bags? Is there a limit on spending money on bags? How do I budget for bags? Is there a purse fund, or do I buy bags anytime I want? how do I make my money? As I said, I make my money. I talked about it, all the different streams, which adds up to a big pool. Always, my husband and I, we actually set aside in our calendar a business meeting where we have a budget meeting where we go through everything. So everything, bills have to be paid first. All that money goes to bills first. The donations that we make to the various charities or church, all that goes first. Whatever is left in the kitty, we will allocate to, whether it is a travel fund, whether it's a bag fund, whether it is a car fund, or whatever it may be. So I always recommend, don't get caught up. I know it's so easy. I mean, as a country, as a world, we spend more than we earn. And I have definitely been caught in the trap of having multiple credit cards in our 20s. That's why we decided to cut them up and just have the one now for overseas travel. But no, there is no such bag fund. Each month, the pool of money is different. So some months I may not spend as much on luxury. Some months I may spend way more on luxury. Some months we have purposely put into our travel fund. I know we're going to Paris. I need to allocate much more into that fund because whenever I go to Paris or Hawaii, I tend to spend more. So that's how we do it. We always have to allocate, but it's always necessities first, donations, and then leftover. Because if you don't do that way, you're going to end up having all this debt. You're going to be stressed out. Money is the number one thing. Well, not number one, but definitely one of the top 3 things that couples argue about. So just please be smart with your investments and your time. Luxury bags, having luxury things is nice, guys. Yes, it's nice having all these luxury things, but it's not everything. It definitely is not everything, and you don't need so much. Yes, I have an extensive bag collection, but this is also like my job too. So don't ever think you need as much bags or shoes. And one thing that, I think we all need to be better at is just being more happy and content with what we do have, because there's always going to be people that are better than us. There's going to be people that are not as well off as us, but it's just being happy and enjoying the journey. So guys, I'm just going to end it there. I think I have done enough talking for now. I really hope I answered your questions in as much detail as possible. I hope you enjoyed it. And in part 2, I will be going through all your questions on all things luxury, bags, all your questions, because I think there's at least another 100 questions or so in that. But please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and if you enjoyed getting to know a little bit more about me. Yeah, I have to admit, because I am a little bit more of an introverted person, though it doesn't seem that way, I was nervous about filming this video, but I'm happy to share this with my family. I call you my family because this is a community we should feel safe in, we should feel not judged in, and I always like, just as a person, to always give people the benefit of the doubt and think, the best of people. So especially in this trying times, in this situation, we are a family. Let's act as a family. Let's do what we can to, control this situation. Every nation and country is different, but we can all play our part. So much love to you all. Stay safe, stay healthy. I love you guys so much. Thank you for everything and all your support and love. And yeah, I just love you so much. So big kisses. Bye for now, guys. The health of our loved ones, our friends, our neighbors, the vulnerable depend on us. Our decisions to stay at home, to self-isolate, to practice good hygiene and social distancing is how we can show love, show respect, show kindness, show compassion, and allow us to spread love. Not fear, not sickness, not harm, not pain. So as one family, one community, one world, we can all begin to heal, to rise, to unite, to get through this.